Sushant Sareen now joining our broadcast. Needs no introduction, sir. Good evening. Thank you for speaking to Times Now. How should we be seeing this?
Look, I think this is part of the kind of larger outreach which the Prime Minister has towards the Middle East, a region which we had ignored for the longest. Egypt, we had very good relations in the past, but then for the last 20 odd years, we seem to have dropped the ball and forgotten that Egypt existed. It's one of the most important countries in North Africa and in a sense, the Middle East. So I think it's good that the Prime Minister is reaching out. There have been warts and all in this relationship. For example, we saw that the Egyptians did not, attend the G20 meeting in Srinagar recently. Now, whether that was because the Saudis dissuaded them from doing so, or they did on their own volition, is a bit of a question mark. But even so, the fact that we had called, the Egyptian president, who was the chief guest at the Republic Day parade, and now Prime Minister is reciprocating with his visit. So I think it does speak volumes for the kind of outreach that India is making in this region. It also kind of fits in well with the larger approach towards Africa and Africa in general and North Africa in particular. So it fits in very well with that outreach as well. So I look at this visit in that light. Now, what exactly is the business side of the deals that are struck? I think we'll wait for the outcome document after this visit. But I think it's good that many of those relationships that India had ignored in the past, I think we are picking up the slack on that and rebuilding those relationships. So to that extent, it's a welcome visit.
And this is the first bilateral visit by an Indian Prime Minister after 26 years. That's almost 3 decades. Srinjoy Chaudhary also on the show. So is Anil Tridguniyat. Mr. Tridguniyat, good evening. Thank you for speaking to us on Times Now. How are you reading this, sir? What should we make of this? Because many people believe that this is an important West Asia outreach.
Well, as my friend Sushant said, is absolutely correct. Egypt is a very important country with both the African and Arab identity as well as the Mediterranean identity. And it is strategically located in the Horn of Africa. You can see in Red Sea, you can see in the Mediterranean, you can see. So it is also increasingly part of the India's Indo-Pacific strategy. So you have to look at it from that point as well. I think that this visit, the state visit by Prime Minister, that was supposed to happen in 2020, but because of the pandemic, it had to be postponed. And we are happy that the Prime Minister Modi has now moved out of the GCC orbit and gone into the larger West Asia, North Africa region. And that is very important. And as you know, and Sushant also mentioned, that Egypt plays an important role in North Africa and the overall African outreach as well, and is willing to be a part of it. You will realize that in the last only few years, we have seen President Sisi come here twice on the state visits and once for the India-Africa Forum Summit in 2015. And he will again be coming in September for the G20 Summit. So I think that these high-level exchanges have clearly shown, even the short-lived Morsi, if you remember in 2013, he was the one who immediately came to India at that time and also indicated the desire to join BRICS. And now Egypt is one of the major candidates to join BRICS. They are already part of the SCO as a dialogue partner. So they are increasingly moving in this direction, and we are reciprocating, and we are also looking at it from a larger strategic perspective. You know, the relationship during the visit of President Sisi when he came here for the Republic Day. At that time, it was upgraded to the strategic partnership level. The defense collaboration between the two countries has really increased. I have not seen any other country with which you have had so many delegations and exchanges taking place. Our defense minister was there, our foreign minister was there, their own team was here which participated after the exercises in desert in the Republic Day. So they are also looking at Indian defense items, including the Tejas and others, quite a few missiles. So there is a lot on the plate. Then they also want big investments from India because their own economy is in a bit of a doldrum at the moment. They're going through difficult times, looking for another tranche of the IMF. So I believe that they are looking at India as a great source of investments, strategic investments. And therefore, after Russia and China, they are also offering us a major economic zone in the Suez Canal zone, and their Suez Canal Authority CEO was recently in India. They are looking at investments in the railway sector, infrastructure. So I think that there is a tremendous possibility. And as you know, that we import a lot of phosphates from them,
Right.
so they play a great role in our food security as well, while we provided them 61,000 tons of wheat during their needs.
Right, he was received absolutely. We'll talk about that as we go along, and I want to bring in Sushant Sareen also on a couple of other things that I have on mind. But Srinjoy, very quickly, the ceremonial guard of honor at the airport is done. The Egyptian Prime Minister was there to receive the Indian Prime Minister. What happens from here on? What are the key engagements lined up?
Well, the most important thing that will happen is the signing of the strategic partnership. That is the first thing on the agenda, and that's the biggest one. Yes, it's been announced, but the signing will take place in Cairo while Prime Minister is there. So that's a big one. Then, as you've heard, this issue of investments, Indian investments in the Suez Canal economic zone. The minister was here just a few days ago, and the point being made is that if India manufactures in the Suez Canal economic zone, then India can avail of two things. One, duty-free exports from Egypt to the rest of Africa and to the European Union. And apart from that, it will be shipping costs that India will save on. That's the narrative that the Egyptians have given us. Besides, there is a strong amount of defense cooperation. There was an exercise in Jodhpur between the Indians and the Egyptians. And this is only going to be a beginning, because Rajnath Singh has been there, Jaishankar has been there in recent times, Sisi was here in January, and he will be back in September. So both sides believe that, those days of Nehru and Nasser can be replicated, and both sides could well go forward. In fact, it is possible that a road in Cairo would be named after Narendra Modi. He's going to a mosque, of course. There'll be lots of meeting with lots of people, economic issues, cultural issues, a whole lot of things. But the main issues appear to be strategic, military, and economic.
And before we take our first break, Sushant Sareen, very quickly, at around 12 noon, that's the time tomorrow, PM Modi will be at the Al-Hakim Mosque, an important religious site for the Dawoodi Bohra community. That is an important message being sent out.
Yeah, so you need to look at Egypt not just as a pivotal country in North Africa, but you need to look at it as a leader of the Arab League. And we've had long-standing relations with the Arab world, and if you have the Arab League also with you, given Egypt's pivotal position in that's a bonus for us. But then Egypt is just as important a country as far as the Islamic world is concerned. Probably the oldest and the greatest Islamic university is in Egypt, Al-Azhar. So also remember that this mosque which Srinjoy is talking about, the Dawoodi Bohra Mosque, the Dawoodi Bohras are one sect of Islam which have had very good relations with Mr. Modi. So I think, there is this part of this other outreach also, not just to the Islamic world, but also to the Muslims in India. And if you look at in that holistic kind of a sense, then it busts a lot of the kind of poisonous propaganda that has gone on in the woke Western media, the drivel which has been published in Western press, all that other stuff which has been going on the sidelines of the Prime Minister's visit to the United States. I think it busts a lot of that propaganda also. Haters are gonna hate, so they will keep saying what they are saying. But I think the proof of the pudding is in its eating, and the visit tomorrow will be part of that bigger outreach which he is doing, in the Arab world, in the Islamic world, and to a very important sect of Indian Muslims.
Apart from that, he's also having a meeting with the Grand Mufti of Egypt, and like you said, that is part of that same outreach. Srinjoy.
Yes, undoubtedly. Yes, he is meeting the Grand Mufti, and it's been very, very clearly done, because this was something that the Prime Minister wanted. This was something that the Indian government wanted, and both sides seem very happy, and we know that the Indian government is looking forward to that visit and the meeting with the Grand Mufti. There is absolutely no doubt that this is also an issue. The other issue, interestingly, is that one of those countries most affected by the war in the Ukraine is Egypt. And this is because the largest importer of wheat in any country in the world from Russia, Ukraine, was Egypt. And this is a gap that India can fill. India has in recent times tried to do some of that, but this is something that the Egyptians are also concerned about. It's also a matter of Egyptian food security. And if India can help with the Egyptian food security issues, then very good. Apart from strategic and economic and defense and issues like that, this is a basic problem which has to be sorted out. And if India can help with the Egyptian food security situation, then very good. The ties between both countries will become much closer.
This is really a continuation of PM Modi's Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas speech, something that he's also talked about in that joint press conference with President Biden in US. And Mr. Triduniyat, I'll come back to speak about that, but let's get in voices that are coming in from Cairo.
From Indian community who are here to attend the PM Narendra Modi.
Correct.
He will be here in
Correct.
a few hours.
Correct.
Just share your feelings.
I am. My name is Alka Walia. I am here for the last 17 years in Egypt. But I think this is super special. This is the first visit of an Indian Prime Minister after 1997. So this becomes extra special. And I feel that this is like we've been very lucky to have him during our stay here. So like excitement levels are like beyond explanation. We're just looking forward to seeing him and just having him here on soil for Egypt.
This is a proud moment as Prime Minister is here after a visit from USA. How do you feel as an Indian when you are here in Egypt right now?
I think words are less to explain that. Whichever country, whatever place he's traveled to, he's just made us extra proud. We feel very, very lucky and extremely excited. I think we are super proud as an Indian, and the level of pride just keeps on increasing with each aspect that he brings into the front. Not only which country he goes, but then the amount of warmth he gets or the amount of welcome he gets just shows how strong as a leader he's been over the last, 8-9 years that he's been there. And I think there is just super pride in each of us.
Now, Ambassador Triduniyat, this visit to Egypt will not just reinforce PM's special connect to the Dawoodi Bohra Muslim community, but also send a message like Sushant Sareen was saying, haters will hate. But this is nonetheless an important statement to make.
Well, that is very much there, but at the same time, you should also realize that his visit to Al-Hakim and Al-Azhar and the Grand Mufti is also pursuant to Grand Mufti's recent visit to India. He was there, and the kind of statements Grand Mufti made were really amazing. I mean, he spoke about the way all religions are taught. Secondly, Al-Azhar is the oldest university, and it dictates fatwas or whatever you may call it, go a long way in the Muslim world, and they are tremendously respected. More importantly, India and Egypt have been working very closely on counterterrorism. They are both working on the zero tolerance policy as far as terrorism is concerned. And Egypt, we recently had a joint working group meeting with Egypt just last month on terrorism, how to deal with it. And that is what is also a defining feature of our relationship. And President Sisi is absolutely against any kind of Islamic extremism that takes place anywhere, especially in Egypt and other places. And in India, we need to work together in order to find some ways how to de-radicalize the youth. And in that, I think they can help us a lot. There are more than 450 Indians who are studying in the Al-Azhar University itself.
Absolutely. And this is, like I said in the beginning, also a message to those who cry Islamophobia in the country. Sushant Sareen, Ambassador Tribuniyat, Srinjoy Chaudhary, thanks for joining us. We're taking a short break. Lots more lined up on Times Now. Please stay with us.